So in this video, I'm going to tell you about my newest and most comprehensive and up-to-date course on the topic of licensing music in TV shows, films, and ads. The Ultimate Music Licensing Guide. The Ultimate Music Licensing Guide has literally taken me 9 years to create. It's hard to believe, but I created my first program about the music licensing business, the A to Z of music licensing, and launched my website, howtolicenseyourmusic.com, way back in 2008, 9 years ago. Since then, I've created about a dozen other niche courses related to the music licensing industry. But up until this course, I hadn't really created a program that is current, up-to-date, and comprehensive, covering all the different things I've learned about licensing music over the last 9 years. I've learned a great deal about the business since 2008. I've licensed a lot more of my own music, and I've helped dozens of other artists get their music placed in a really wide range of shows, films, and projects. A lot has changed in the music licensing business in the last 9 years. The industry has become more competitive. There are different standards and expectations of those working in the industry. There are different formats needed for licensing music than when I started. And like all industries, things have been changing. And the Ultimate Music Licensing Guide reflects where the music licensing industry is currently and where it's likely headed in the near future. Based on everything I've learned licensing my own music, helping hundreds of other artists license their music, and networking with and interviewing over 100 people working in the music licensing space, I've put together an in-depth, comprehensive, 4-hour plus long course that covers everything you need to know to license your music. The course has 8 different modules that each dive into a different aspect related to music licensing. Let's take a look at what I cover in each module. In Module 1, I go into the mindset you need to succeed in licensing your music. The music licensing business is competitive. It's not an easy business per se, but with the right mindset and knowledge, you can succeed. And in this section, I break down how to approach music licensing mentally from the very beginning so that you know what to expect and so that you have a realistic expectation of the work and effort involved. In Module 2, I go into how to write music for licensing so that you're not shooting in the dark when it comes to what types of songs work best. There are certain lyrical themes and certain styles that work better in the context of music licensing. There's a really broad range of styles in music that get licensed, but it's still important to be aware of what works best and why. And in this module, I break down everything you need to know about how to write music specifically for licensing. In Module 3, I break down what's required from a production standpoint. Music production is a critical component of getting music licensed. If the production isn't right and the quality isn't where it needs to be, nothing else you do will matter when it comes to getting your tracks licensed. In this section, I break down what you need to know about production, how to finance your productions if you choose to go with an outside producer, and more. In Module 4, I get into the things you need to do before you start pitching. This section is a sort of things to do checklist prior to pitching your tracks. I go into the types of files you may or may not need depending on who you're working with. I also cover things like title registration, copyright information, and so on. I cover everything you need to have in place before you start pitching your tracks. In Module 5, I cover networking and marketing. Once you have great, well-produced tracks that work for licensing and you have all the different files and formats needed, it's time to start pitching your tracks. In this module, I go over how to properly research the market, how to make contact, how to submit your music, whether you should network in person or online, whether you should solicit music libraries and publishers or supervisors, and more. In Module 6, I cover the business of licensing. Once you've started pitching your music, if all goes well, you'll start to get offered publishing and licensing deals. In this module, I break down the different types of deals that are out there. I cover things like exclusive versus non-exclusive deals, co-publishing deals, working with publisher and libraries versus supervisors, and so on. You'll learn everything you need to know about the business side of licensing in this module so that you're prepared and ready to make informed, educated decisions about the types of deals you're offered. In Module 7, I go over a few of what I consider are more advanced strategies for getting your music licensed, like working with interns and assistants, how to be professional so that you stand out in a good way, and more. There's also a video in this section that my producer, Gary Gray, has put together on how to make an effective showreel so that your music submissions get noticed. And finally, the last module is a resource section that contains a number of free bonuses, including the 2017 Music Licensing Business Directory, which is a comprehensive directory of over 2,000 publishers, libraries, and supervisors working in the music licensing industry. Once you've gone through the program, you'll be able to actually start pitching your music to people who license music. This directory normally sells for $47 by itself separately, but it's included as a free bonus when you purchase the Ultimate Music Licensing Guide. This module also has a number of other bonuses, including several tracks myself and other artists have licensed successfully, to give you an idea of the types of tracks being licensed. There's also a spreadsheet you can use to track all the submissions you make. When you're making a lot of submissions, it's easy to lose track of who you've made submissions to and when. Keep track of all your submissions with this valuable tool. And finally, there are also several bonus interviews that I've included with music licensing professionals. You'll hear from several different songwriters and supervisors working in the music licensing business. You'll get a bird's eye view of what it's like to work in the music licensing business directly from people working on the front lines of the music licensing industry. Okay, so that pretty much covers what's included in the Ultimate Music Licensing Guide. I've invested an enormous amount of time and effort into creating this program, and I've put together the most comprehensive course on the topic of licensing for TV and films that I'm aware of.